What's up, everybody? Welcome to SI Now. It is Friday, February 17th. I'm Matt Stryker.
And I'm Ryan Aselta. And Matt, I'm excited to be here. A little nervous today, though.
Why? Come on, we're like Strike Dog and Rhino. We could be like the new Heart Foundation.
Some threats of putting moves on me throughout the newsroom today.
That's from the producer. That's not for, hey, listen, I'll tweet you right now.
Yeah.
Just put it up like that, and there you go. Now you're part of the Bullet Club.
All right, there we go. I'm in.
All right. Coming up on today's show, it is a throwback to the slam dunk heard around the world as we go back in time to one of the most iconic moments in NBA history with a classic picture of strength and beauty as told through the eyes of the man who captured it. We'll also look at strength and beauty of another kind as Maggie and I catch up with SI Swimsuit cover model and the soon-to-be Mrs. Justin Verlander, the lovely and talented Kate Upton.
Yeah, Jordan and Kate Upton. This is a power-packed show today. But we're going to begin today with the Charles Oakley saga in New York. Now, yesterday, Oakley appeared right here on SI Now and shared some strong and inflammatory feelings about Knicks owner James Dolan. While the league and Commissioner Adam Silver have tried to defuse the situation, Oakley added fuel to the fire, bringing racism into the conversation with Maggie Gray. Take a listen.
Draymond Green, the forward for the Warriors, he said on his podcast he believes that James Dolan has a slave master mentality. Charles, what's your reaction to that? Do you see it that way?
He's a control freak. He got everybody in the garden on pins and needles. The other owners know this. That's a bad thing about it. And I told they're going to let this end up happening like something happened in L.A. Clippers. It's that bad, but they won't talk about it. It's that bad.
Do you consider James Dolan, Charles, on that same level as a Donald Sterling?
Yes.
You believe that he's a racist, James Dolan?
He's on the level. You can put level can be, according to you building a house or you build a pyramid. And this and that. This man has been around for a long time. I ain't heard nothing good about him.
Wow. A lot being said, a lot being insinuated, Matt. Great job by Maggie with Charles Oakley, but let's get your take. You've listened to it. It's kind of been taking over the country right now as far as news-wise. What do you make of what Charles was, I guess, alluding to?
First of all, Charles Oakley is obviously angry and emotional, and rightfully so. But when we start throwing certain words around, there is a responsibility. And if I'm a prosecutor and I have to prosecute the charge of being a racist onto Dolan, I don't have a leg to stand on. Oak was careful when Maggie hit that question. He kind of got he was smart about it, if you think about it. You?
Yeah, well, bringing Donald Sterling into the conversation, very interesting, because James Dolan doesn't have this type of track record. No. If you're going to bring racism into it, you better have something to back that up.
And Sterling was convicted in a court of public opinion with undeniable evidence.
Yeah, he was recorded as making comments.
Yes, that's missing here.
James Dolan has minorities working throughout his organization at very high levels. He's very close friends with Isaiah Thomas, who was in his organization. So unless you got evidence and something that he's holding back, I think it's irresponsible. And he's kind of, going off of what Draymond Green said, who Green even retracted what he said about the slave master comparison. He retracted that on radio yesterday, saying it was the wrong thing to do. It was really insensitive, irresponsible to say that, and irresponsible and, just not the right thing to say about people who went through that many, many years ago, and he kind of apologized to that. Donald Sterling got brought into this conversation by Draymond Green, Charles Oakley. Well, even Donald Sterling weighed in on this situation. The former Clippers owner told the New York Daily News, Oakley compared me to Dolan. Isn't that amazing? I would hope that maybe Oakley and Dolan could get together and reach a level where they're both comfortable with each other. Yeah. Even Donald Sterling is surprised that he was brought into this conversation.
Yeah, and this is a slippery slope. So for more on this, let's welcome in SI legal analyst Michael McCann. Michael, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Matt.
All right, we appreciate your time. Listen, the question on my mind, can Dolan pursue a libel or slander case against Charles Oakley for the things that Oakley said to us in his SI Now interview?
He could, but it would be an uphill climb because what Oakley said was more insulting than slanderous. So to have an actionable slander claim, it has to be portrayed as a statement of fact. So saying somebody had a relationship out of marriage, something like that, something that's objective and measurable. Portraying Dolan as something along the lines of Donald Sterling is more of an opinion. And it's more of what Oakley thinks in his own view, but isn't establishing any kind of fact. And it's an opinion that you and Ryan just debated, right? The idea that it doesn't seem to hold water when you look at Dolan's record. Even if Dolan can be criticized for different things, the idea that he's a racist hasn't really been shown in any known capacity. So it's really an opinion rather than a statement of facts. I don't think Dolan would have a very good case.
Michael, let's talk about the other side of this. Dolan insinuated that Oakley has an alcohol problem and needs to get help. Now, Oakley has said those comments could lead to him losing endorsement deals or other business opportunities. Let's take a listen to that.
Some things about you, Charles. He said that he believes you have a drinking problem. He said you have issues, personal issues. He says he believes you have an anger problem. I mean, is there any part of that that you think is true, or is Dolan completely out of line here?
He's way out of line. I'm not that guy. That's what I'm saying. He's trying to paint me as a different person. I'm not that guy. I'd rather go to jail and just do 2 or 3 years for my assault case and come out and be a better person, because I don't want to feel he can don't give me nothing. Don't give me something now because everything is bad and trying to make it. No, that's what's wrong. We cover stuff up because of money and power. This a people issue. It's just like getting a DUI sometime, going to jail for murder or something. It's something on your record. You know, you Google my name, this gonna pop up, and that hurts.
Pretty interesting here, Mike. Now, Dolan has used the alcohol card before. Remember his infamous letter to a fan? He accused that fan of being an alcoholic, and Dolan is actually a recovering alcoholic. When you look at this situation, what was said, could Oakley actually, Mike, have a case to sue the Knicks owner here?
Well, possibly. So the comment that he's abusive to me jumps out because Dolan said it as a clear, unqualified remark. He didn't say, well, he may be abusive. He said he is abusive, in fact, physically abusive. That's a pretty damning accusation because it also links up with accusing somebody of being engaged in criminal conduct. That actually could be potentially slanderous, although there's always the although. Dolan saying that Dolan could say, well, look, he was just arrested. Oakley was just arrested for assault, so it's not slanderous. I'm relying on the fact that he was charged with crimes that go to being abusive. So there's a defense there for Dolan. The part about having a drinking problem, Dolan was careful with his wording there. He said may have a drinking problem, and then he added, I think, we're not sure. So he threw in kind of escape valves, if you will, to get out of a potential slander case. If he had said Charles Oakley is an alcoholic, and if it's not true, that would be slanderous, but Dolan didn't quite say that.
All right, of course, this coming on the heels of AllStar Weekend. I'm sure we're going to hear much more about Charles Oakley this coming weekend. But, Michael, we're going to keep you here and switch topics. There's another story that we needed to weigh in on. Yesterday, word broke that the Revis has been charged with 4 felonies in conjunction with his part in a street brawl in Pittsburgh. Michael, explain these charges against Revis, which range from aggravated assault to making terrorist threats.
Yeah, these are really serious charges, particularly aggravated assault and also robbery and conspiracy. So these are, and terroristic threats, these are all serious felonies that he faces, and they stem from this murky incident where it's 2:30 a.m. last Sunday, and he's out on a street, and some guy comes up to him and says, are you Darrelle Revis? And he says, apparently, yes. And then that guy, from what we know, started filming him on his cell phone, and Revis said to stop it, and the guy didn't, and it went from there. So it seems to be a case of Revis being harassed, and it's 2:30 a.m., usually not a good time to be out. Maybe people's judgment isn't as good as it would be earlier in the day, and it looks like they had some kind of altercation and 2 other men were involved. But if it turns out that, as he's accused of, hitting this guy and hitting another man as well, it could be aggravated assault because witnesses say these men were knocked unconscious for about 10 minutes and then had to be hospitalized. One of them apparently had pretty significant injuries around his eye. So it is serious, but I would caution, let's see how the facts develop. Revis's attorney has stressed that Revis was a victim, and he said, I think he was attacked by 5 men. There is a phone and there's a video, but even that doesn't necessarily prove that Revis committed a crime. Let's see what the video shows. It may show Revis there, but it may not show him committing any kind of criminal act. It was also 2:30 a.m. It's dark outside. That has a big impact on evidence, because if you can't see things clearly, it can hurt proving something beyond a reasonable doubt.
Going back to a particular point there, as a pro wrestler, I've been knocked out plenty. But the fact that these men were unconscious for 10 minutes, that to me is alarming. Could there be any further charges if serious medical repercussions appear to the victims? What additional charges could be brought against Revis?
Well, it is possible, Matt. I mean, if they thought that they were trying to kill them, now I don't think that was happening, right? But if something where, let's say this head trauma turns into something that leads to a neurological problem, but we know that head trauma can have all sorts of latent effects that can come up later in life. There's a possibility that, again, I don't think this is likely at all, but if they conclude that Revis was really trying to inflict lethal violence on him, the charge could be escalated. But as they are, these are really serious charges.
Michael, let's talk about his contract here. Revis has $39 million remaining on his deal, though only $6 million of that is guaranteed. With this situation, could the Jets have cause to release him without paying out the rest of his contract?
It's very hard to do it, Ryan. I mean, we've seen this before where if that were to occur, the Players Association would object, and it would lead to, in all likelihood, a grievance procedure and then potentially a lawsuit as well. It basically, unless the contract has language saying if he's charged with something like this, they can void the deal. And what I've read, I think NewJersey.com had an article on this. They've seen the contract, and the contract doesn't include any language like that. So I think it makes it more likely the Jets will cut him, but I don't think it's going to come with that accompanying financial benefit, based at least on what has been reported about the contract.
All right, this story just getting started, I think. SI legal analyst Michael McCann, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
I tell you what, Matt, when you see this story, a couple things jump out at me. First of all, 2:30 in the morning, Revis was apparently looking at a real estate property for your future
He wanted
investment.
to see it in the proper light.
Who does
right?
that at 2:30 in the morning?
Oh, that I can't speak to, but I do know plenty of people that have gone to Pitt. And this street, Carson Street, I've been told you don't want to be out there at 3 o'clock in the morning. So there is that possibility that maybe these guys were looking to jack Darrelle Revis. But on the flip side, what is he doing out? What is a professional athlete doing out at 3 a.m.? Even though he has every right to be, there's a lot of things here. There's some murky waters that we need to navigate.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more to come out from this story, and let alone the Jets have plenty of cause to release him already. He was awful this season. He wasn't Revis Island, nowhere close to the Hall of Fame caliber cornerback we've seen. So I think his time with the Jets is quickly coming to an end here.
Not to make a joke, but now is the time for him to move to safety.
Yeah, off the island and to safety. You got that right. Well, over the next 3 days, the NBA is going to converge on New Orleans for AllStar Weekend. Saturday's dunk contest will likely be the highlight of the festivities, as the likes of Aaron Gordon and DeAndre Jordan are sure to impress, but it'll be tough to top what happened 29 years ago. Recently, legendary SI photographer Walter Yost sat down with SI Now and reminisced about the most iconic dunk contest image of all time: Michael Jordan soaring from the foul line in 1988.
They gave him a 50. They gave Jordan a 50. He defends his championship.
I'd met him in '87. That's when we did the blue dunk. But he was a lot freer then. And before that game in Chicago, the slam dunk contest, I'd done the previous year's contest in Seattle, and I'd lit it, like, theatrically. And if you can't see the player's face on the dunk, there's no picture. So he's sitting in the front row of the stands 4 hours before game time. I walk in, I say, "Mike, how you doing?" And I explain what happened the year before. I said, "Is there any way you could let me know which way you're going to dunk?" And he looks at me. I'm thinking, this is the dumbest question I could ever ask anybody. He goes, "Yeah, I can." I said, "Well, how?" He says, "Before I go, I'll go like this." I said, "You're going to remember that?" But With him, it's a game. He says, you watch. All right, now I got a game going on. I look over. I don't have any cords. I'm on a radio. I look over. First dunk goes like this. SI moves. So I keep moving. He remembers it. The famous dunk was the last dunk of the game. The previous dunk, he did the same route from one end of the court to the other, and I was right at the stanchion, like back in like this, and he landed in my lap. So the last dunk, he looks down at the court, he just goes like this to me. And that's the picture.
How cool is that?
I mean, first of all, Walter's fantastic. I
Yeah.
can listen to that guy read a phone book, but everyone had this poster on their wall.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, this truly embodies a picture is worth 1,000 words. But what I find curious is guys like Jordan, Neek, Spud Webb, they didn't need to jump over cars or
Right.
mascots. All they had to navigate were space and time, and they did it better than anyone. This is iconic.
Yeah, I'm going to date myself here, but Matt, I was there. I was in Chicago Stadium, 1988, 11 years old there with my dad for that dunk contest. Still one of the highlights of all the sporting events I've ever been to, work-related, personal. That was it. Seeing Jordan beat Dominique, the place was absolutely electric. I held the cards. Everyone's holding the 10, right? The Gatorade 10, holding it up. Here was the thing I remember, though. He actually shouldn't have won that dunk contest, Matt. Dominique had a better dunk contest, but no one in their right mind was not going to award Michael Jordan the trophy in his home building as a Chicago Bull. It was phenomenal stuff. Going from the foul line for a second time and nailing that thing.
Is there any way that the live crowd knew? Did you and your dad know? We just saw history, or did it really hit you like that?
You know, as much as it can for an 11-year-old
Sure.
to kind of grasp
There you go,
that,
yeah.
I knew this was something really cool and probably the loudest sporting event I had ever been to as the home crowd. I mean, no one was rooting for Neek. Poor Neek. He had the monstrous double clutch, 360s, through the legs, reverse. It wasn't enough to beat Jordan, though.
Oh, for my money, Michael Jordan, greatest of all time.
Absolutely. Well, the dunk contest, just a small part of a very busy weekend in sports coming up. Here's a look at what else is going on over the next couple of days. This is SI Now's Weekend Drive, presented by Toyota. Let's go places. We'll start in Waco, Texas, where a Big 12 battle will explode between the 4th-ranked Baylor Bears and the 3rd-ranked Kansas Jayhawks. Kansas head coach Bill Self knows his team needs to show up on the glass.
Well, they played volleyball the first half against us on the offensive boards, and we got to do a better job of blocking out and hitting somebody because, if it's a standing jump contest, they're going to win at 7-1 or whatever, going against 6-7 or whatever. So we got to do a better job rebounding the ball, and we also got to eliminate Motley's good touches, which we didn't do at all the first half. We did the second half. And then obviously, the same old coach speak things, but we have to attack their zone better.
Kansas won the first matchup of this year, 73-68. Baylor needs a win to catch up to the Jayhawks in the Big 12 standings. Next up, we swoop into Madison Square Garden, where there's been plenty of drama over the past few weeks. New York's head coach Alain Vigneault recognizes the distractions involving the Knicks at the Garden even extend to his hockey team.
We seem to be having issues in this building right now. Nothing we can do about that. We got to get ready for our next game. So practice Saturday and get ready for the best team in the league on Sunday.
Washington currently sits 9 points ahead of New York in the standings. And New Orleans is our last stop. It's NBA AllStar Weekend. Plenty of drama heading into Sunday's game, and SI's own Rohan Nadkarni caught up with Klay Thompson about the possibility of 4 Warriors teaming up with Thunder guard Russell Westbrook.
That'd be fun. He could do everything. He could rebound, pass, shoot. I mean, he proves it with his stat line when you average 30, 10, and 10. So, which is amazing. So it will be fun. But you could insert any guy in that 5th spot. I think it would be a lot of fun. And to see Russ and Katie on the court again together, might be a little nostalgic for NBA fans, but we'll see what happens.
I'm sure NBA fans are highly anticipating that nostalgic moment, Clay. And that's what's in store for this weekend.
All right, while hoops will certainly be the order of the weekend down in Dolans, it is swim week here at SI, and yesterday Maggie and I had the opportunity to sit down with the cover girl herself, Kate Upton.
Third cover for her, right, Matt?
Yes, technically, but there's some alternate cover that might be 5.
We got a few right here in front of us.
There's
So
one missing, actually. Let's take a look. Where is it?
Fruit.
For your third time on the cover, why not 3 covers, Kate? Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I know that this is always something fun that happens is you're taking all these photos, you're snapping away. You don't know what the cover is, but as you were posing in Fiji, did you get the sense, okay, this could be a cover, and this could be a cover, and maybe this could be a cover too?
No, never. And you never think it's going to be 3. I mean, it's really such an awesome feeling that they picked 3 photos. But I mean, during these shoots, I just was thinking, don't put my hand down for 2 of those photos.
The arm strength, right?
Yeah, I'm like, don't lower my hand.
That hasn't crossed anyone's mind.
Do you have a favorite?
I don't, because, you know, especially being a part of the picture and seeing the behind the scenes, I love all of them for different reasons. But I do like, I'm having like a poll, like who likes what cover.
And what have people responded? Which one do you think is in the lead?
I think that it's the gold.
You think?
We're not too shocked by this, right? Matt, is that your favorite?
You know, I like them all. I love the looks that you have. I'm really concentrating just
on my face.
Yeah,
I have a lot of expression.
It brings me to a question, all kidding aside. What do you think about when you're making love to the camera? I mean, how do you create that allure?
I've been doing it for so long that I just change expression. I'll think friendly. Yeah.
They have to keep this incredibly secretive. I mean, they basically swear you guys to secrecy. You can't tell anyone. Were you able to let your fiance, Justin Verlander, in on any of what was going on the shoots?
Oh, yeah, I told him.
He tells him
Sorry,
everything.
Guys. Yeah, I told him everything.
But when did he know that you were on the cover?
Well, the same time I knew, which was right before Kimmel.
One of the greatest moments, I think, in the last year was some of the tweets that you sent after he was robbed of the Cy Young Award. We have to put these up because this became one of the biggest stories in the sports world. I can tell you that unequivocally. Did Justin have any idea that you were sending some of these out?
No, he was still on camera, on TV.
Oh, he must have loved that.
I had to make sure to send it out before he was off TV. He might have said no.
Yeah.
Okay, you send out these tweets, and listen, anyone in your position, I think, would have understood why you felt like he got completely robbed of the Cy Young Award. Did you have any idea that you were going to end up almost changing the conversation of how these season awards are going to get voted on?
No, in the moment, I reacted out of passion, obviously, because I am Justin's biggest fan. Shocker, right? And I feel, it caught up in all of the emotion of his last season and how great he played. And also, I was really caught up in the fact that these writers didn't even vote for him, and this is a game based off stats. How do you not have him in the top 5? Like, I understand someone favoring a stat, but just to not vote for him at all is crazy when he was leading the majority of the stats.
Okay, so if the rules do get changed and they start doing the vote differently for the Cy Young from here on out, would you take some pride in that? Do you feel like you're helping the next ball player who gets robbed?
Well, I hope they do make changes because, also from my tweet, I found out some great fans informed me that they voted a week early.
Some writers did.
Yeah, they voted a week early. It was very shocking. Yeah, and Justin had, I believe, 2 more starts.
Yeah.
He did.
And so, I mean, that's something that should definitely be changed. You should at least get the entire season.
I have a hard-hitting question.
Oh, good.
My fantasy baseball draft is next week. When you're cuddling with Justin and you lay your head on his shoulder, does his right shoulder feel healthy and strong?
From what I've heard, he is healthy, and he is excited for the season.
So, ready to take him 10th, 11th round, maybe, you think? Got it. Good. Done.
One thing I wanted to get into with you is one of the themes of this issue. It's body diversity, and that's, I know, something that was really important. It's something that you've talked about. People will look at you and say, you have the perfect body. I mean, they'll look and say, there's nothing that you could pick out that's a flaw. When you hear that, what do you think?
Well, thank you. But it's just not true. And I think that I learned that after my first cover, there was so much controversy about my body. And then, and now that's how the industry's changed, is people are accepting of all bodies and finding every different type of perfect.
How do you take that outside criticism and not fall into a negative trap and not believe what all those naysayers are saying?
I think that no matter, if I did fall into it or try to change myself for them, I would just have a different type of hater. So I just accept the haters I have. And also, if you don't have haters, you're probably not very successful.
You're not doing something right. Let me ask you, what do you say to young boys and young girls that have a hard time embracing what it is that you just so eloquently said? It's very easy to say, but to those that are looking in the mirror and don't like what they see, how do you give them that confidence to say, hey, be happy with who you are?
I think it's all about treating yourself right, working out, eating healthy, and feeling good, feeling energized, feeling strong. You're never gonna love yourself every single day, but you can always work towards it. And whenever you do love yourself in that moment, you could just appreciate it. Maybe it'll last a little bit longer. And I think that that's really why I wanted to be in this issue, is when MJ told me that theme, I wanted to be a part of this movement. And Christy Brinkley, how at her age, she still, has such spirit and life. And you see that if you treat yourself right, you can have it, till in your 60s.
Do you think you'll be modeling till 63?
No.
Drinking
I think
tequila?
you might be.
I'm like,
Maybe.
I don't know.
As long as you're happy.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
See, I'm learning.
You've been paying attention.
I studied all three, and that's what I gleaned from it, just to find inner happiness.
And then we took it away from him.
Yeah.
Kate.
That was the friendly I was thinking.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
stunning, beautiful, and just enjoy it. We know you will.
Thank you so much. Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Matt, I got to get your take, because I obviously wasn't lucky enough to be a part of that interview with Kate, but what was your impression? She seemed pretty normal for a cover girl.
Honestly, it goes beyond beauty. So charming, so down to earth, so engaging. Those things that she was talking about, it really does say a lot for what the SI swimsuit issue means today versus what it meant 20, 30 years ago. As goes society, as goes progress, so goes Sports Illustrated. But my friend Tommy Dreamer called me a crazy man. He said, and I quote, "Dude, you're sitting there with Kate Upton and you're talking about fantasy baseball. What's wrong with you?" It's because I'm going to beat you this year in our league, Tom. That's why.
Yeah, she seemed really impressive, especially when talking about body issues, which is a big movement right now in America. Let me ask you about her sports knowledge, though. Did you get the impression she knows her baseball?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Off camera, we were talking about if Justin would use his circle change and his fastball more on 2 strike counts, and I seriously just went, "I love you." It just.
So she really knew about that.
A very well-rounded, genuinely warm person. Forget the gender, forget all that. Just a good, decent person.
So we both grabbed Verlander in our fantasy drafts. Is that the plan?
Are we going to be in the same league this year?
No, separate leagues.
Fine.
We both get him.
I think
and
so.
if he doesn't do well, we send her a tweet and complain to Kate.
And then we draft Kate Upton. How about that? Well, that's going to do it for this Friday edition of SI Now. I want to thank you, Ryan.
Good time, Matt.
Maggie and I will be back on Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, but don't fret. Swim week isn't going out with the tide just yet. Next week, we have more Hannah Jeter, more Kate Upton, and even a dating game with swimsuit models Hannah Ferguson and Bo Outlaw Krismanovich, as well as reactions to the NBA All-Star Game. So until then, stick with SI.com for all the latest news. And don't forget, follow us on Twitter at SI Now Live.
Yeah, now, Matt, there's one last thing before we go, though. You all may recall a certain blind date that happened this week between a professional tennis star and one of her Twitter followers. Well, last night, Maggie and People Now's Jeremy Parsons cozied up with Jeannie Bouchard at the SI Swim red carpet to get the scoop on how that date worked out and put an exclamation point on this week. We're going to do that with Jeannie's thoughts on that date. Have a good one.
The date actually happened last night.
Last night we went to the Brooklyn Nets game and had a very nice evening. He was pretty normal and I got to spend time with a fan, which was great.
He was pretty normal, which is great. Verdict on date number 2. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Blink twice if it's yes.
I'm open to it. it's a possibility.
Let me just tell you something. This guy's and all of his friends, minds are blown.
I know. He
so
gave
good on you
everyone
for changing lives.
a chance.
I'm not joking. It's so good.
Yeah, he's like, it's like his life has changed a little bit, but
Yeah.
I think he's taking it all in stride. It's great.
Okay, what did he try to engage you in? Did he want to talk about tennis? Did he want to talk about your life? I mean,
know where I would start, yeah.
how curious was he?
I mean, he was actually like a normal kid, you know? He's a couple years younger than me, which made me feel a little cougar-ish. But
Oh, okay, please.
But we talked about sports a lot. He's a huge sports fan, and so am I. So that was actually nice. And yeah, I mean, he was kind of a bit overwhelmed a little bit, but he was pretty laid back as well, and not what I expected. I expected someone a bit more like nervous, and he was very cool.